Hello everyone, welcome to the video on subqueries in SQL by Intellipaat. As the term itself suggests, subqueries are nothing but the queries inside the query. If you are a computer science student, you will find this concept appearing in very opening chapters of the SQL courses. However, there are many varieties of subqueries that need to be explained, and although subqueries are generally used in where clauses, you can also use them in other clauses such as from, having and select. In short, there's a lot more to know about subqueries than just what they are and where they go. And with today's video, we are going to explore all the intricate details of subqueries. But before we begin, make sure to enable both subscribe button and bell icon for Intellipaat YouTube channel so that you will never miss out any updates coming from our end. Okay, now this is our agenda for today's video. We start with what is subquery in SQL, then importance of subquery, then we will see what are all the different types of subqueries there in SQL. And at last, we will see Crud Operation using subqueries. I hope I have made myself clear with the agenda.
Okay, let's get started with the first topic on our agenda. What is subquery in SQL? So, a subquery, which is also known as nested or inner query, is nothing but a query that is embedded inside another query. It is one of the most powerful features that allows you to retrieve data from one table based on the results of the another query. So these are often used in scenarios where you need to perform a query using values obtained from the another query's result set, right? So here is the basic syntax of a subquery. We start with the select keyword followed by the names of the columns that we want to retrieve our data from. Then we use the from keyword followed by the table name from which we are going to retrieve our data. And then the where keyword, which is followed by the column name and the operator, which helps us to compare the values of a column with the result of the subquery. And this, the complete query, is known as the subquery, which is enclosed inside a parenthesis. In this, we are selecting a particular column from a table based on a specific condition. So let's look at an example to understand subqueries even better. Right? So suppose you have two tables, employees and the departments table. As you can see here, the employee table and the department table, they are having some records in it, right? So what we do, so by the help of these two tables, we want to retrieve the names of the employees who works in the sales department. Like by basically saying this table, we are getting an idea that Jenny and James are the two who are working in the sales department. So here is an SQL query to find out that Jenny and James, those are working in sales department with the help of SQL queries, right? So as we can see here, the subquery select department ID from departments where department name equals to sales. What we are doing, we are retrieving the department ID for the sales department, which is then used in the outer query to fetch the names of employees working in that department, right? So by running this query, we will get output as Jenny and James, the both who are working in the sales department. So now we got an idea about what subquery is and what it actually does, right? And in simpler terms, a subquery helps you to get data from one table to use it as a condition to filter the results in another table. Or it's like using a question to answer another question in SQL. Now let's look at the importance of subqueries. The importance of subqueries in simplifying complex queries, it cannot be overstated, right? Subqueries serve as a powerful tool that help us break down intricate problems into manageable steps, providing us a structured and efficient approach to handle complex data related challenges. So here is why subqueries are so crucial for us. The first one is targeted data retrieval. So while dealing with complex queries that involve multiple tables and conditions, it's often challenging for us to fetch exactly what data do we need, right? So subqueries allow us to pull specific subsets of data from one table and use them as a filters or reference in another table. This targeted data retrieval helps us in focusing on the relevant information only. That's streamlining the outer queries. So the next one is enhanced readability. So what it says? It says that complex queries can quickly become complicated and hard to decode, which makes it difficult to maintain and collaborate with others. So subqueries introduce a modular approach, breaking down the larger query into smaller, more comprehensible parts. This improves the overall readability of our queries, making them easier to understand and maintain over the time. Then we have step-by-step approach. Subqueries encourage a step-by-step problem-solving approach. Instead of trying to address all conditions and requirements in a single query, you can divide the problem into sequential tasks, where each subquery serves as a building block that contributes to the final solution, which makes the overall query constructive, more intuitive, and less overwhelming. And the last one, efficient data processing. In a complex scenarios, attempting to accomplish everything within a single query, which leads to the performance bottlenecks, right? So subqueries allow for more efficient data processing by fetching and processing data in smaller chunks, which optimize query execution and database performance, ensuring that the database engine works in an intelligent manner. Now let us see what are all the types are there in subqueries. So the first one is single row subquery. So as the name suggests, this subquery fetches just one row of data from its results, right? So just picture this. You are looking for a specific piece of information that's hidden away in another table, and you need it for your main query, right? So that's where the single row subquery comes to your rescue. So here you can see the books table, right? So let's say you are a bookworm and you want to know the title of most recent book that you added in your library. So instead of searching out the entire library by yourself, you can use a subquery, or you would write a query within your main query that fetches the most recent book title, right? So here is our query. In this query, we can see a subquery inside that, which repeat. So in this query, you can see a subquery which is inside a parenthesis select max publish date from books. So what it is doing? So it's basically fetching the most recent published date, which is then compared to the published date in the outer query. So by running this whole query, we will get an output as Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which is the recent book that we have added in our library, right? Now let's see our second type, that is multi-row subquery. So unlike the single row, this subquery retrieves multiple rows of data. Imagine you are collecting data from one table to filter or match data in another table. So that's where the multi-row subquery steps in and fetches a bunch of relevant data in one go. Here you can see the two tables, orders and customers, right? Suppose you are organizing an event and you want to invite customers who have made it purchases before. So you would use a multi-row subquery with the in operator to retrieve a list of customer IDs from the orders table. These lists would help you to filter the customers in your main query. So here is our query. We can see a subquery that is inside a parenthesis select customer ID from orders. So what it does, it basically retrieves a list of customer IDs who have made orders, and the outer query fetches the corresponding customer names. So by running this whole query, you will get an output as John and Emily, who are the two customers who have made purchase before. Now let's see multi-column subquery. So this subquery not only fetches multiple rows, but it also fetches multiple columns of the data, right? So imagine you need to gather a bunch of related data from one table to use as a filter or reference in the another table. So the multi-row subquery allows you to bring all that data in the one shot. Here you can see the two tables, employees and the skills required. So just imagine you are a manager trying to find employees who have the skills that matches the company's project requirements. So you can use a multi-column subquery to fetch both employee IDs and their corresponding skills from the employees table. This data becomes your filter criteria in the main query, right? So here is the query. We can see the subquery, that is select employee ID skills from skills required, that is our another table. So what it does, it basically retrieves the employee IDs and skills required for projects, and the outer query fetches the names of employees who match those requirements. So by running this whole query, we will get an output as Alice whose skills are matching with the project requirements. Next, we will see correlated subquery. So this subquery is quite interesting because it's closely related to the outer query. It's like a dynamic assistant that adapts its data based on each row processed by the outer query. So this dynamic nature makes correlated subquery exceptionally useful in the various scenarios. Here you can see the two tables, employees and the departments. So let's imagine that you are an HR manager trying to find out employees who earn more than the average salary in their respective departments. Like here are various departments: IT, marketing, sales, finance, operations, right? So a correlated subqueries lets you fetch data from both the employees table and the departments table within the same query. It's like having a conversation between different parts of the data. So here is the query. Just see the complete SQL query that is written there. For each employee in the outer query, the correlated subquery calculates the average salary in the employees department and then compares it to the employee's salary. So here is the query. For each employee in the outer query, the correlated subquery calculates the average salary in employees department and then compares it to the employee's salary. And when you run this complete query, you will get the employees who earn more than the average salary in their respective departments. Lastly, we have nested subquery. So this subquery takes the concept of subqueries to a whole new level by nesting them inside one another. It's like creating a chain reaction queries where each one builds on the results of previous one. Here again you can see the two tables, orders and the products. So imagine you are a sales manager now trying to find out how well certain products are performing in terms of their revenue. So you could use a nested subquery to first find the total revenue of each product from the orders table. Then you could use the nested result as a filter in the outer query to fetch product details from the products table. Right? So here is the query. Here the nested subquery first calculates the average revenue across all orders, and then the outer query fetches product details for products with revenue higher than the average. So by running this whole query, you will get an idea about how your products are performing in terms of their revenues. Next, we will see the Crud operation using subqueries. Crud, create, read, update, delete. You should have heard this term if you already have studied about databases. So these are the fundamental tasks in a database management. Subqueries can be integrated into these operations to enhance their functionality and provide even more advanced querying capabilities. So let's explore how subqueries can be used in each CRUD operations. Okay, now let's start our CRUD operation using subqueries part here in this online SQL editor. So I've already created a table, employees table, added some records in it, as you can see. So
let's start with our Crud operation part. We start with the insertion. So we do one thing, we add a new record in this existing employees table only. We start writing insert into employees, the name of our table, and then ID, first name, last name, and department. We give a values keyword, and then we give our values, that is 6. Name, let's give it as Mary. Jonas, and let's give her a department, sales. So here is our query to insert a record in this existing employees table. Let's run this query and see what happens. So yeah, our query successfully executed, and as we can see here, Mary Jonas sales department is added to that existing employees table, right? Now let's clear this query and let's do the reading part. We do some reading from this employees table. We do one thing, we retrieve the first and last names of the employees who are in HR department. So let's start writing our query. Select first name, last name from the employees table, where we are giving here a condition where department equals, now we are starting with the subquery part here. Select departments from the employees table, where first name equals, let's give John. So here we have the query. Let's try to execute this. Let's see. Okay, I've written here departments. It's a department. Now it will run. Yeah, our query got executed now. As we can see, John Doe is in HR department. Emily Williams, she is also in HR department. So we got the two names who are in HR department, right? Now let's perform our third operation, that is updating. We will do some updation in this existing employee table only. What we will do, okay, we do one thing, we change the department of employees with the last name Doe, here it's John Doe, to match the department of another employee. Let's say Smith, Jane Smith, we take it as Jane Smith. So what we do here, we change John Doe's department, that is HR, to Jane Smith's department, that is finance. So HR will be replaced with finance. So let's try. Start writing the query, that is update or updation, update employees, that is the name of our table. Set department equals, now we are starting with the subquery part. Select department from employees, where we are giving here a condition, last name equals to what we have decided, Jane Smith, right? So we write here Smith.
And where do you want to replace that? We want to replace that in John Doe. So we give a last name Doe. So this is the query. Let's try to run this query. So here our query got successfully executed, and as we can see here, the HR department got changed to the finance department, right? So now let's do our last operation, that is deletion operation, right? Let's do one thing. We delete the employees from the finance department in this employees table. It's very simple. Let's do that. Start with writing the query. Delete from employees, that's employees table, where our department equals to, now we are starting with our subquery part again. Select department from employees, where first name equals what we give. Let's give John. Right, we are done writing with the query. We are good to go. Let's run this query and see what happens. There is no oh, it's first. It's my mistake. Let's run it again. Yeah, so now our query successfully got executed, and we can see both 1 and 2 records got deleted from this table, employees table, right? So these are all the basic CRUD operations that we can use with subqueries.
That's all we have for this video. I hope you guys are now clear with the idea of subqueries in SQL and how you can use them. Thank you for staying with us till the end. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your fellow mates. Also, do subscribe to our Intellipaat YouTube channel to never miss any updates coming from our side.
Just a quick info guys, Intellipaat offers a data engineering course in collaboration with MIT MicroMasters. Through this course, you'll learn data wrangling, big data engineering with tools like Apache Spark and Kafka, data modeling, cloud data warehousing, and much more from professionals working in top companies as data engineers. With this course, we have already helped thousands of professionals in successful upskilling. You can check out their testimonials on our Achievers channel, whose link is given below in the description. Without a doubt, this course can set your career to new heights. So visit the course page link given below in the description and take a first step towards career growth in this field of data.